Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today we are going to be talking more about this recently confirmed Nintendo Direct for this June. Could this Nintendo Direct be a big Nintendo Remaster Direct? I think there may at least be some truth to this idea, and that's what I would like to talk more about today. But before going forward, let me ask that if you do enjoy my content, to please subscribe and hit that notification bell. So we have a now confirmed Nintendo Direct for this June. Nintendo yesterday told us about how there's a Direct focusing on just Nintendo Switch 1 coming this June, and that there will be nothing mentioned about Switch 2 until a later time. But one of the things that's so interesting about this particular Direct is that Nintendo announced it on May 7th, and it's not to happen until sometime in June. And so it's looking like, most likely, this Direct has been announced more than a month in advance. Directs typically are announced a day or two in advance, so it's leading many people to speculate that this might be a pretty exciting, jam-packed Nintendo Direct. I want to be careful about jumping to the conclusions that this is going to be like the best Nintendo Direct ever just because it's been announced so far in advance. I think a lot of that very clearly has to do with the confirmation that Nintendo Switch 2 exists, and Nintendo wants to make clear that there's still support coming to Nintendo Switch 1. But I still think that there might be something to that idea, because when we take a look at Nintendo's numbers, looking at their financials, they are still forecasting strong net sales for this fiscal year. Yes, there's a drop, but it's been dropping year over year over the last few years, and without things like Tears of the Kingdom or Mario Wonder or the Mario movie boosting their net sales, it's very curious to me that they're still this high. Now, you might think, well, okay, that's because Switch 2 is going to be coming out before the end of the fiscal year, and that's going to greatly improve their net sales. That may be the case, but current reports are suggesting that Switch 2 is being aimed for an early 2025 release, many thinking March of 2025, which is the very last month of the fiscal year, meaning that Switch 2 sales wouldn't be able to impact the overall fiscal year that much. And when we also take into consideration that Nintendo's forecasting 13.5 million Nintendo Switch 1s, which they did clarify on during their Q&A, that's a pretty darn good number. Yes, it's a drop-off, but a drop-off should be expected. To have only this minimal of a drop-off without things, again, like Tears of the Kingdom or Mario Wonder, it does suggest that Nintendo may have a pretty compelling year. Now, I assume that there are going to be some price drops that will definitely help to improve the overall sales here, but something else that I think is worth noting. Pierre485 put out all these different graphs of different Nintendo numbers, and what we're seeing here is Nintendo profits by fiscal year. And what you'll notice is that in the beginning of the Switch era, it was pretty good compared to the Wii U era, but not as good as the peaks of the Wii era. It wasn't until the latter half of the Switch era where profits really skyrocketed. And so it makes sense that Nintendo would want to really maintain this current level of profits. So they're going to do what they can to maintain this healthy level of Switch success and providing software for this very large Switch 1 audience. So it does make sense to think that Nintendo is going to bring some fire, some heat with this upcoming Nintendo Direct. But it is currently rumored that there will be a lot of remasters announced in this upcoming Nintendo Direct. This rumor is coming from PH Brazil. I will be linking one of their videos in the description below where they talk about this in English actually. Very fun video, so I definitely recommend you check it out. And while their track record may not be the most clean because of the recent expectation of an April Direct that did not happen, there have been other things in the past that they've said that seem to have been supported by others. For example, they were the initial one to report on the internal Switch 2 delay, which every other site corroborated afterwards. And there's a number of things they said, but the rumor is basically that there's going to be a lot of remasters, and that this Switch 1 Focus Direct will be the last Switch 1 Focus Direct. It's a rumor, but it does make a lot of sense, and it seems fairly predictable. From the remaster perspective, we already look at how things have been going this year, and it's very clear that the ratio of brand new games to remasters and remakes is greatly skewed. In terms of brand new games, we have Princess Peach Showtime and Endless Ocean Luminous. Nintendo did just recently confirm the Nintendo World Championships that we thought would be the July game, and yes, it is the July game that's coming, this NES edition of the Nintendo World Championships, but I would kind of put that under the category of remaster remake because it's a compilation of old NES games just remixed somewhat. So we're getting that, but we're also getting Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, an HD remaster, the Thousand Year Door remake, but we also got earlier this year another Code Recollection and Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Those are all the Nintendo published titles for this year, and it's clear that the ratio is leaning towards remasters and remakes or remixes of some kind. So that's the trend. And this trend has been weighing more so in this direction over the last couple years. This year being the most painfully obvious. I don't think Nintendo's going to all of a sudden buck this trend, especially with Switch 2 now confirmed. We know that Nintendo is getting projects ready for Switch 2, their biggest projects. So they cannot come out with their biggest projects for Switch now. They're going to have to rely on lower budget projects and partner projects. Which is in large part why we're seeing a lot more remasters and remakes and remixes, because they are cheaper to make, and also easier because oftentimes they can be outsourced since there's already an original game there, it's just being improved upon, so Nintendo can more easily trust the quality there. So do I think there will be more remasters announced with the next Nintendo Direct? Absolutely, regardless of what the rumors are suggesting. Will it be the entire Direct, just remakes and remasters? I don't think it will only be remakes and remasters, and for the record, no one is suggesting that it will only be remakes and remasters, but it does seem like that may be the majority of the announcements we do get. I think there will still be some new games, like maybe another new Mario Party, for example. I could see something like that being announced during this Direct, and maybe another surprise Nintendo title that comes out this year, but I do feel the majority of the games will be some kind of remake or remaster. With Metroid Prime 4 on the way, many think that that could be the big new Nintendo title for this year. I am personally skeptical of that. I think it could actually be coming out in 2025 for Switch 2. We shall see how things pan out there. But regardless of where Metroid Prime 4 is situated, there's still this expectation that we will also see Metroid Prime 2 and 3 beforehand, and those would be remasters of some kind. Perhaps not overhauled in the same way Prime 1 Remastered was, but they are likely candidates, they have been rumored, and they do make sense. So I wouldn't be surprised if we at least see an announcement of Metroid Prime 2 in this upcoming Direct. Now, something else that many people have been anticipating for a very long time would be ports of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD from the Wii U era. We've talked about this so many times. If this is the last Switch 1 focused Direct, and there's going to be a focus on remasters, and that's going to be the primary way Nintendo bridges the gap between now and when Switch 2 comes out to maintain profitable sales, then something like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD would be one of the best things to do, because there's been a clamoring for these games, I would argue far more so than what we saw for Skyward Sword HD, and so I think there's a lot of sales potential with these games, and they would definitely contribute a significant amount to those projected high net sales. Beyond that, there is also the rumor of the Fire Emblem remake. This has been rumored for some time from credible places like Nate the Hate, so I am inclined to believe it's real. And this is spoken of as a remake and not a remaster, so it may be looked upon with more quality, perhaps even treated almost as a brand new Fire Emblem title, so they could announce this during the Direct and maybe considered something fairly significant for this second half of the year. On the note of Nate the Hate, or Nate the Drake depending on the alias he's using and the website he's on, he did say something about FZero GX. Here Nate says, "While I had heard of a potential GX HD port, the info I had strong confidence in was an FZero project, which was likely FZero 99 given the timing of the info, and FZero 99 releasing a year later. That's not to say there isn't another FZero project in the pipeline, but that'll be something I need to look into, which could very well be the FZero GX HD project I heard about. When I have better clarity and an update, I'll provide it." So what's neat here is that Nate is suggesting that he had heard something about a GX HD port or a GX HD remaster, because that's what an HD remaster would be, but he didn't have a lot of confidence in it in the same way with FZero 99. So basically, he's saying there's a chance. And I personally think that an FZero GX remaster would make a lot of sense to come out this year. Why? Because I think we need some more Nintendo racers, And if Nintendo is going to have a big new Mario Kart coming out early for Switch 2, perhaps next year, maybe it's best to put out a GX HD remaster now so people can enjoy that game. Maybe it sells 1 million or 2 million copies, hopefully, fingers crossed. It reaches a slightly larger audience, and that positions the F-Zero franchise well to have a new update sometime during the Switch 2 era. So I think it makes sense, but it's just something that was rumored a while back, and it's not necessarily coming out anytime soon. Going beyond that, I will note that if we're getting this Nintendo Direct in June, I think there's a good chance it could come out in the first half of June, mainly because it was announced so far in advance. But also, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD comes out towards the end of June. And I've been thinking, since we already have Luigi's Mansion 3, and we're going to have Luigi's Mansion 2, it would be weird to not also have Luigi's Mansion 1. So the idea I'm suggesting here is it's similar to how Nintendo announced shortly beforehand Pikmin 1 and 2 right before the release of Pikmin 4. I really wouldn't be surprised if a couple weeks before Luigi's Mansion 2 HD comes out, in a Nintendo Direct, Nintendo also announces a very basic, simple remaster of Luigi's Mansion 1 from the GameCube, just like Pikmin 1 and 2. I think there's a fantastic chance this could be happening. And so if we get half the things mentioned in this video, that would be a significant amount of published Nintendo releases that would be remasters or remakes. And of course, there could be more. But what do you all think? What kind of remasters might we see in this Nintendo Direct? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart, thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.